Name is Tarja Rautiainen, keskustelu. I'm coming from University of Tampere, and my paper is pretty much work in progress, and so I don't have any findings. I will tell about our research project, so I'm introducing my research plan or our research plan. And if you are interested to collaborate with us. So as you can see, I've changed my title a little bit, and I hope you understand my English and that you hear me. So all started in April when I wrote with my colleagues an application for the Academy of Finland. The call was Digital Humanities, and the title of our project is Algorithms, Power and Emergence in Music Recommending. And as you can see, it is a multidisciplinary research group. A couple of weeks ago we got results, and we were not the lucky ones. They got, was it 350 application and 6 projects get funded. So you see what is kind of reality conditions in nowadays in academic world. Anyway, we will continue to work with this plan, and here I'm going to talk about my sub-project. But before that, I will tell something about the whole project that you can get idea what I'm doing or what is background for my own sub-project. And I must say I'm an anthropologist and ethnomusicologist, and probably this explains why I have this kind of a approach to these issues. So what was the motivation? The motivation was the observation that these systems are situated in black box. I don't know how it's in French, boîte noire. Yeah. For us, that we are using them in everyday life, but we don't understand how they shape our mediated environment. So the aim of the project is to examine this system from 3 perspectives: as technical systems, as shapers of culture and agency, and part of mundane activities. And so we see these systems as a certain kind of socio-technical practices. So how to reach the aim? Because it's very difficult to get this kind of information from the companies. They don't tell this kind of things, they are secrets. So we are going to simulate a recommended system. And of course we know that this is a little bit difficult and risky business. And actually this is not the field I'm in. Juha Leino was actually accepted to this conference, but he couldn't come. He will construct this, what we call music machine. And I don't know what kind of connotation he will have. This is quite banal name for it, and there's a little irony involved also. But anyway, that's our aim. And Juha Leino uses the concept of emergence. He wants to model emergence, and what emergence means here is kind of a definition that it refers to how decentralized local actions of user results in aggregate level phenomena in the system. It's a little bit complicated the way to put it, and actually I'm also studying this emergence, but I will use a little bit different kind of concepts as a music scholar. And as I said, I don't know much about this kind of details, how Juha is going to construct this music machine, but he will utilize user-centered design approaches, and the material is from the YouTube. And the objectives of the project, 3 objectives: to evaluate and develop data gathering and analyzing methods, and deepen understanding of how these systems are part of our everyday life, and then thirdly, make visible something what we call algorithmic power. So these are the aims of the whole consortium. But now I will tell more detail what I'm doing. So the second aim is my research project. So as ethnomusicologist and music anthropologist, I'm interested how people use music in everyday life. And as I said, I think that I also study what Juha calls emergence, but I would formulate it in that way that we study music-related action in situ. And this is a Latin phrase, probably you know it. It means that we study things on-site or in portions or locally. So I'm interested how people, places, discourses, ideas and material objects together bring about the action here and now. So how to study this? We will establish two different groups. One group is student group from a university. It's a course called, the title would be something like algorithms and something. And students in this course develop, analyze and evaluate music machine. The second group is from the City Library of Tampere, and they also use and evaluate this music machine. And again, I know there's many risks involved in this project. For example, how to persuade people to participate, especially the people in the library. So the method I'm using is called nexus analysis. This is the kind of research method I'm using, and actually it is the point of my presentation. So what is nexus analysis? This method is developed by Ron and Susie Scollon. They are linguistic anthropologists and have studied technology in everyday life. And probably the most famous book is this Nexus Analysis, Discourse and the Emerging Internet. This analysis draws on many different linguistic and anthropological fields: critical discourse analysis, ethnography of communication, social psychology, interactional sociolinguistics and linguistics anthropology. But it's not used this far in music studies, as far as I know. Three main concepts in the method are historical bodies, interaction orders and discourses in place. And I will later go in detail what they mean. But as a music scholar, I'm very interested about this orientation, or kind of idea what's back there behind that. In a nexus analysis, all social actions are seen as multimodal material semiotic processes in which language, together with other semiotic resources like sounds, including bodily senses and senses of place, act as a side of knowledge. And I think it's a very interesting approach for me as music scholar, although this method is developed in social sciences. So what are the key concepts? I don't know if you can read it. So just shortly, what it means, historical body. It's a life history of the individual, experiences, memories, tastes, and it's quite near the Pierre Bourdieu's concept of habitus, but I think it put more emphasis on the history of the body. Interaction order. So we are interested how we interact with others, how we observe and follow the norms and the rules of the interaction. And of course, they are implicit and explicit rules. And thirdly, discourses in place. They are institutional and societal frames of the action. And in this picture, although it's not a good one, you can see that, of course, these are a little bit kind of heuristic tools to understand action. And what is important to notice that, of course, these three concepts overlap. Why I'm so interested in this method? I've used it before. I used it in a project called Emplaced Culture Embodied Action. In that project, we study encounters between culture and care institutions. The concrete case was the so-called even online remote concerts. It was a service launched by the local concert hall, Tampere Hall. It's a conference and concert hall. They streamed concerts, which were the normal repertoire of the Tampere Hall. They streamed these concerts to so-called special audiences, and in this case, the places were a mental hospital, special unit for young people and children, and to one prison and into elderly homes. And we studied concert experiences in these places. And it was really interesting project to think that what it means that when the concert is organized in, say, mental hospital, what is the historical body of those people who are coming to a dining room, which is a concert place? What it means that it is an institution called prison, what kind of histories there are in the, in materialities, in rooms, in that place, and what is kind of a societal discourses, for example, that should these people need cultural services. So, and the second case actually I'm now just started this project. I'm studying what I call sort of recommendation system. It's the service launched by music department of the city library, and it's called Mezzo Live. It's a concept where a local, quite popular musicians and band have a concert in library, and along the performances they recommend the audiences. The audience, their favorite books, movies, recordings, songs, painters, everything which is relevant to them personally or relevant to the band or the history of the band. And for example, a couple of weeks ago when I was in one concert, they were talking about the mobile phone applications. They one band was telling about these kind of things. So again, I'm interested, what are the people coming to these kind of places, how they are, acting there. What is this place, library nowadays, where they have a need to somehow maintain their, statues, how they can show people that this is a good place to come. So these two cases are there in background, and they are very important to me when I'm going to study recommending systems. But before I will give some kind of a more concrete examples how I will study those systems. Some ideas that why I found this interesting, this method, and I think that it has led me to the basic questions, and especially the question what music is. And at the moment I think that there are at least two sides of the issue. The one side is that music is a vehicle of expression and representation, and object of interpretation and discursive elaboration. And this is the sentence which comes from Richard Middleton from the book Musical Belongings. So good music, and especially this phrase for this best choice for you is, or I think it's kind of a discursive elaboration, or we should understand it as a discursive elaboration. So good music, new music, authentic music, or if we talk about art, music as art form or community, they are discursive elaborations and tell something about the representation also. So that's the one side. What's the other side? For me, music is also a practice. As a sociologist, Tarja Nora has said, we do things to music and we do things with music. Sounds are material, and they have this material has a capacity to transmit energy and aura. And every time when I tell about these things to my students, I will show this news to them. It's about actually he's a French fan of the heavy metal band Sonata Arctica, who walked 3,500 kilometers. He walked in order to meet the band, and I think that shows that there's quite much energy involved to that enterprise. So in that way, music also makes people do things. So my starting point for the research framework when I study how people use recombinant system in everyday life is that music is a material discursive practice. Okay, so this is now my own invention, and these issues have been discussed by many scholars in the field of ethnomusicology, popular music studies and sound studies. So why this perspective? And I think that's most important slide for me, that I think that quite often music is considered as a somehow neutral or transparent window on its topic. So I want to know what is knowing about music, and somehow I want to get beyond the taste. I think that taste is important, of course. It's the kind of first way to talk to how we somehow try to, when we are interacting with others, we are talking about if I like this or not like. It's important, but somehow as a researcher I think it's important to somehow get beyond the taste. And how to get beyond the taste, I think this method can provide some solutions to that. So how many minutes I have? 3 minutes. 3. Oh, so well, just shortly. Again, just one more thing why I think this method benefits the study of recommendation systems. And here I'm referring the recent article by Jeremy Wade Morris in European Journal of Cultural Studies. I think it's a very good article and I agree with him. But still I think that when he's talking about, for example, manufacturing audiences, yes, I think so, yeah, this is system manufacturing audiences, but I want to ask, who are those audiences, who are those people? And just shortly those questions, a little bit more concrete way, what I want to ask. When I'm studying historical bodies, I will ask how these individual mobilize material and discursive elements of sound and music, depending on their own bodily histories. In other words, how these systems affords to an individual as material discursive practices. In interaction order, I'm interested how people recognize, follow and rework rules of an interaction. And I think especially yesterday in Nancy's presentation, we have that interview material, there were many examples how people recognize and rework rules of the interaction. And thirdly, this course will place, I'm interested how people recognize the nature of recommendation systems in relation to other forms of listening music, how they do things to music and with music. And of course this question of media literacy and literacy education and critical technology education. So thank you, and I apologize for German style presentation. So.